there. My name is Lusty Bangor, and I want to tell you the story of my life, my childhood, before I even dreamed of becoming a porn star. I was born outside of Lubbock, Texas, and every summer I went to spend the whole 3 months with my grandparents, my grandfather, who was Bull Bangor, and my grandmother, Zulika. Now, Grandpa Bull was a rancher, but he also was a preacher, and he had revival services every week at some little town over there in West Texas. And I always went with him, and it was my job when I was a little bitty girl that when he called for the sinners to come forward and ask forgiveness and to be taken into Jesus' arms, that I would rush forward to the altar and I would cry and I would complain and beg for forgiveness, and the Spirit would come upon me. I was real good when that Spirit came upon me, let me tell you. I was highly successful with this. And then the next week we'd do it all over again. Well, when we were done with that, I would listen to my grandmommy, Zulika, tell her Bible stories. Now, I had a young cousin. Well, he wasn't really that young. He was 3 or 4 years older than I was at the time. So when I was 10, he was 13 or 14. He was coming around in the summers, too. And he liked those Bible stories. Our favorite was Adam and Eve and the serpent. And we liked to act them out in the barn after Grandma Zulika had told us the story. Well, Orville had this green sock he used to put on his hand, and he would make that the serpent, and the serpent would talk to us. And I began to believe what that serpent advised us to do. The serpent told me in particular, that there were 2 apples involved here. And those apples were in a little sack down there between Orville's legs. And it was my job to go down there and play with those apples, which Orville enjoyed a very great deal, let me tell you. That was a lot of fun, at least it was for Orville, until Grandpa Bull Bangor came along and caught us doing this. And who do you suppose got the whooping? I did, because Grandpa Bull Bangor said it's always the woman who is the temptress and who leads the poor innocent man astray. Well, now, I don't know what to think about. Yeah, I do know what to think about that. Well, the other story that I really liked was Samson and Delilah. Now, Samson was this big, strong guy, and Delilah was, well, a delight, I guess, but she was a Philistine. Now, that was a different tribe from what Samson was in, and I think they were kind of enemies there. Well, they were also into S&M. Delilah really liked bondage, and she'd tie Samson up in all manner of things. First there were ropes, and then there were leather straps, and I think she got around to chains eventually. And he could always bust free, and this just drove Delilah crazy, because she wanted to know, where's the source of your strength? And finally, because he was horny and he really wanted to get some, she persuaded him to tell her the truth, that it was his hair. And so after they had their good times one night, she cut off all his hair. Well, there went all his strength. And in come all the Philistines and grab him and do terrible things to him. It ended real badly for Samson. Well, Grandpa Bull Bangor said, of course he blamed Delilah for that, and he said, that just proves the women are the temptresses. What it proved to me is that men are dumbasses, and they will do just about anything. They'll tell you anything just to get some pussy. Okay, the next ones that I really enjoyed were Joseph and Potiphar's wife. Now, Joseph, you may remember, had this beautiful coat. He also had a whole mess of stepbrothers and half-brothers and other brothers who were very jealous of him because he was his daddy's favorite. And they grabbed him one day and they sold him into slavery down in Egypt, and they sold him to the captain of the Pharaoh's guard, Captain Potiphar. And Potiphar took Joseph home and made him head of the household there. So, Joseph, you're a smart kid, just run everything for me. And Joseph did a real good job. Well, there was Mrs. Potiphar. And Mrs. Potiphar was probably your original cougar. She was a little bit older woman, and she was really attracted to this young Joseph kid. And she did everything imaginable to get this kid into her bed. Well, he knew trouble when he saw it, and he stayed away. And so things eventually worked out pretty well for Joseph. But here's the thing. If that had been me who was Mrs. Potiphar, I'd have figured it out. Joseph would not have gotten away from that. Well, there's one other story that I'd really like to tell you about. And I really want to see this on film, and you'll know the role I want to play. Mary Magdalene and J.C. and the Apostles. She was a groupie for J.C. and the Apostles and followed them everywhere. And there was, I think, a real romantic thing going on between Magdalene and J.C. Now, you may have your ideas about what was really going on. I like to think that they were, that they became a couple. And I like to think that, who wouldn't want to hook up with a guy who could walk on water and turn water into wine? And I think I can confess something here, is that I think Mary Magdalene probably could teach me a few things. Thank you for listening to my Bible stories. My name is Lusty Bangor, porn star.